All right, we are back for part 2 with Jeanne Stacy of EarthStar Spiritual Center. And it's always just such a great, warm, aloha heart feeling getting to be with you. Thank you, Jeanne.
Oh, thank you so much. So wonderful to see and be with you too. So much aloha to you.
And Jeannie's there too. I know she's there giving her support. She's not far off in the background. So
No,
hi,
no, she's my director over here. She gives me the cutoff sign or high sign or whatever.
Well, we ended our Q&A because we asked for questions from you guys and we got them. And so we ended talking about the virus a little bit and the fact that there is nothing to be afraid of when you're looking from a shamanic soul perspective. So let's talk a little bit more about the lockdown and some actually hopeful, positive things that might have been happening as a result of the lockdown.
Yes. Well, you know, keep in mind too, the big picture here is why did this happen right now? Well, the big picture is because this is an election year. Remember that the deep state's goal is to take down America, because if America is taken down, the rest of the world doesn't have a chance. So, you know, if you want to see what the flagship for deep state is, it's called the Communist Party of China. That's exactly their vision of the world, have everyone is controlled. But remember too, there's good folks in China, and they're taking care of the deep state there also. You'll hear more news about that soon. We've heard that you know, the chairman of China, he's actually on Trump's side, along with President Putin of Russia and Prime Minister Modi of India. So you have these people, the huge countries, huge populations, they're all on the same team. So the COVID, the virus then, so it comes out of China, it comes into America. The plan was for a total global shutdown, which it did. However, the maestro, we know him as President Trump, he has outplayed them once again. So he's using this time, this quiet, because remember, if people have to stay home, so do the so-called deep state people. They have to be at home. And that's why you hear a lot about these sealed indictments, these arrests that are taking shape. I know we all want to see some results soon, but remember, there's lots of things that have to come into play. For instance, let's use the recent thing with the Maxwell lady that got arrested, part of the Epstein, all the sex stuff, the child trafficking stuff. And the reason why the U.S. attorney from the Southern District of New York was removed. Because remember, we can't arrest someone and then have them go to perhaps a deep state influenced prosecutor or judge, and then nothing happens. They get let loose on a technicality. Well, that would not serve our purpose, right? Because we know they're guilty. Now, we're not talking about innocent people getting let loose on a technicality. We know these folks are evil, and we know these people are guilty, right? So, you know, things like that had to take place. You had to remove that. So the same thing involved with our other planning. You know, we have to remove people who are part of the deep state's agenda, so that when we do arrest people, we'll have a proper court system. And we're going to have judges that understand the law and the constitutional law, and we have prosecutors that understand that. So with the COVID virus then, Trump just used that. I'm sure they probably maybe weren't going to do this during this time frame, but they used it because the virus happened. Everybody got on lockdown. And we heard what one side, the political party, that wanted to shut everything down, right? And so that's what happened. Trump allowed everything to be shut down. And that way he has a chance to put all the good guys, the so-called white hats we hear about, we put the white hats in place all around the world so that they're ready to make the arrest when the time comes. We know that, for instance, Guantanamo Bay down in Cuba, right? That's still a U.S. military base. It's on the southeastern part, or southeastern part of Cuba. So that place is ready to go to start arresting people and have a place to take them if we have to. So as far as the virus goes, that was just a cover for the deep state to bring down America, to shut down the economics that we have. Because remember, we had this wonderful economy going on. My goodness, we've heard all the wonderful numbers. And so what did it do? It shut it down. It made the people dependent on the government, receiving government money. And this all happened in the election year. And then, of course, mainstream media promotes us. Well, yeah, Trump caused our economy to collapse. He caused the virus. He did a terrible job during the virus. Just imagine all the things they said he did wrong. Right? And we know he didn't, right? Because look at all the things that are happening with the virus now. Right? So, and we're going to get back to school soon. I know that after it all gets cleared up, maybe after a few more arrests, a few more things will happen, more information coming out. Notice how all the information is coming out about the Russia hoax. Of course, mainstream media is not playing that. So I would suggest you go to Q. It's a qmap.pub. So qmap.pub, P-U-B. Okay. And that way you can see all the little downloads, because that's coming from our military intelligence, coming from the president, coming from the White House folks, and giving us some real news that's not being filtered by mainstream media. So Trump was able to use this COVID virus that the deep state tried to put on America and the whole world, and he's using it to his advantage. Remember, he's a very strategic player. He understands all this. I mean, he's a businessman. And if you go back to seeing all his interviews on David Letterman back when he was a youngster, back in his 30s and 40s, he still had the same kind of outlook on America. He wanted America to be great, and he knew there were some things that weren't right. And he knew that efficiency could be a lot better in our government if it wasn't for the deep state. Because we have to remember that as far as deep state, ever since John F. Kennedy was killed, the deep state's agenda has been to flood our bureaucracy for people who were just there to work and not really make any kind of wave as far as any kind of progress for the American people. It was always to have us regulated, to have us controlled, to have us dependent on the government. And so this has played out through all those presidencies. So you can understand that it's really not Republican, Democrat. Because remember, the deep state doesn't care. They don't care who the puppets are for them. It doesn't matter to them. They have their agenda and they want it done. And what happens when it doesn't get done? You have a presidential assassination. You have Ronald Reagan, who also tried to do some things in the 80s. He had an attempted assassination. So you can imagine, if you're a president, my goodness, you're going to do what the deep state says, especially if they threaten your family. I mean, I can imagine President Obama, if the deep state comes in and threatens Michelle, the kids, what's he going to do? He's going to have to do what they tell him to do. And that's what he did. So just have to remember, there's a bigger picture here. I want you to think about our president as being very strategic. And of course, it's not all just him. So just don't think I'm just saying this is all Trump doing. It's not. He has help. This man knows from his business experience how to get the best people around him, the best advisors, the best counselors. I mean, my goodness. Look at the Secretary of the Treasury. He came from a financial institution, so he knows about money. He just didn't pick somebody off the street. Same thing with his counselor. Same thing with his press secretary. My goodness, that press secretary, that Kaylee, here you have this woman, she's Harvard Law, and evidently she's got a photographic memory because she just remembers everything. And she looks so petite, yet the information she's able to give the American people is just wonderful. So please tune into those things some way, somehow. Because that way we can at least get a little bit of insight into what's going on. So again, remember the big picture. Remember that the things that we're told on media, and then try to figure out, use your inquisitive, put on your detective hat and go, okay, what could be the other reason that's happening? And then try to play devil's advocate, so to speak, for everything that comes along, and try to find out what the truth is for you.
Good point. And is it true that he has one of the largest administrations full of women on his team? Is that true? Because I've just heard that. I haven't done the homework to know that myself.
Yeah, I don't know if he has the largest, but he's got his press secretary. He has many women in his administration, and of course he's pro-woman. I don't know why we have this picture that all of a sudden he's anti-woman. My goodness, he's pro-woman. He's pro-everybody. Remember, because he's pro-American. Right? If you're an American, he is pro-American. And he cares so much not only for America, but he cares for the world too. So he's pro-world. He is anti-deep state, but he is pro-American and pro-world. Yes. So and remember, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention earlier, and the things that are going on in our world and in the United States. Remember that some leeway had to be given so that people could see what's going on. Right. Just imagine if let's just take Portland, for example, and 60 days of violent protests. Imagine if on the second day, President Trump had sent in the National Guard, had sent in the military reserves, all the federal police officers, and just quelled that disturbance on the second day. You know, that may have seemed a little tyrannical, and people wouldn't have understood. But now, after 60 days, we see that there's still protests in downtown Portland. They're trying to keep this federal courthouse from being burned, and we hear all the negative press. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Congressman Jordan yesterday at the House hearing with Attorney General Barr. He played this video, and there's the reporter saying, yes, this is a very peaceful protest, but in the background there's a burning building, and people are running around, and he's reporting this is mostly a peaceful protest. Now, that's a word. As a detective, I kind of key in on that, on what people say words. So when you hear people say, well, it's mostly peaceful. Okay, well, what's the part that's not mostly? What is that part of it? That's what I want to know about. Maybe that's why they're using tear gas. Have we thought about that? But if we just kind of glaze over that and go, well, it was a mostly peaceful thing. Well, yeah, but why didn't he say it was all peaceful? No, he didn't say that. It was mostly peaceful. So that's just some of the words that are used to try to confuse us and get us not to see the true picture. So remember that the plan or the Q plan or the military, president, all those folks have been planning this to keep America free. The plan is that it had to be this way. People have to be shown. You just can't tell people the way things are. People have to actually see it and live it. You know, when you go to a Target and you've got people in there on top of the counters hollering and shouting, and they want you to leave the building, now you understand this is really happening in America, right? So folks have to be shown. So that's why everything is being shown. Again, President Trump is very strategic. He's giving these folks just enough rope, and they're truly just going to hang themselves with it because everybody can now see. For instance, when we think about the Democratic Party, it is a shame that the far left, anarchists and socialists have taken away the moderate voice of the Democratic Party because we need that party. We need the liberal voice. But we should never be without the liberal voice. It's just we can't have the anarchist socialist voice and the communist voice, right? We can't have Bernie Sanders speaking. Remember, even the Democratic Party did not want Bernie Sanders part of the party. They denied his socialist agenda. That's why he was never nominated for president. But now he seems to be in the forefront. And we can't have that if we want to keep the JFK Democratic Party alive. So people have to be shown. And now people are shown. So start looking at everything. You know, just like today. And Jeanne and I laugh about this all the time. I wonder what he's going to say today on Twitter or on the news, and the media is going to jump all over. So what did he say today? Well, maybe we won't have the election. Maybe we'll just have to postpone it. So those few words, and now everything, every time you turn on the radio and you see the news, people are just in an uproar. Oh my God, we're not going to have an election. He can't do that. He doesn't have the power to do that. So I'm thinking, he's just saying these things so that people can see what's going on. It's just like with the censorship, right? When you have YouTube, Google, Twitter starting to censor people because they are saying things, he is teaching us that we have some people in this country that are trying to keep our voice from not being heard. So you're telling me that you'll allow pedophilia on these sites, but you won't allow a conservative viewpoint on these sites? What's up with that? That's not very fair, especially if you're receiving any type of government subsidy for any of those programs, because then you would come under the federal law for that. Yeah, so everybody has to be shown, and that's what's happening. Everybody sees what's going on, and now people are truly waking up. And that's what's so wonderful. I mean, that's why I'm so optimistic about that. I mean, I'm so optimistic about the optimism because people are starting to see that. They're starting to question this. And that's what we want. And remember, all this is happening because of an election year. Just keep that in mind.
And the only thing that gave me a glimmer of hope was that his tweets, there was some code to that. Because honestly, before that, I thought, this is an insane person. Nothing added up to me until a little bit more information was revealed. And I was like, oh, I hope that all the things that he says, there's a method to that. And so that was another question that came in about who is Q? What is that all about?
Yeah, so Q, it actually started during the John Kennedy administration because, his attempt was to, I don't know if you ever saw that quote he had about the CIA. He would break into these many shards of light or something. So, I mean, his attempt was to take down the CIA, to take down the deep state. And that just didn't turn out so well because there wasn't enough, he didn't have enough backup at the time. I suppose he underestimated the deep state and how far they would actually go. Because, I want you to think about this. They were able to kill a president of the United States in broad daylight in front of people with TV cameras. And they got away with it. Can you imagine the audacity to be able to do that? So Q then started during the Kennedy administration. And for obvious reasons, it went quiet because these people didn't want to be dead too. Until they started having more and more people being involved with it, military intelligence. And so it's continued now ever since 1963. Interesting thing about Q, if you'll just Google JFK's gravesite in Arlington Cemetery, an aerial view. So just type that in on Google, aerial view of JFK grave. And I want you to look at how the pavement works. It is in the shape of a Q, okay? And so that's so wonderful. That's just kind of a little glimpse into that. And Q then, those are the folks that are doing the post. So if you go to that qmap.pub, you'll be able to receive those posts. Now on my Android phone, which my daughter says that's low rent phone because it's not an iPhone, but on the Android, there's actually an app for Q, and it'll come right into your fancy phone and you can see that. There is not a Q app on iPhone. And that's something you may want to think about. Why is there not a Q app on iPhone? Okay? Again, deep state. So Q then is part of the military intelligence, part of the so-called white hats in the military that are working to keep America free. And the only way they've been able to operate is in the secret because we've seen what mainstream media does. Remember, mainstream media, and we're talking about like 90% of our media. Not only in print, but on TV, social media, everything. It's owned by deep state companies. So very few social media platforms. That's why it's so amazing that the social media platforms have truly awakened. My goodness, you can find out so many things. And I posted something on our personal page a couple of weeks ago that had some links to some places that I listen to. So you may want to check that out too. So Q then that's the good guys. So, and they are the ones who actually asked, and the military, they asked President Trump to run in 2016 because he was the only hope they had. They had to have somebody that was outside of the political system, right? Because they were so afraid that all the other politicians were compromised. Because where does all that re-election money come from? And once people are paying you money, you're going to have to do exactly what they want you to do with legislation, talking points, making policies. But President Trump was beyond that because he wasn't part of that system. And because the military wanted him to run for president, the military didn't have any money. So they had to have somebody who had enough money that could finance the campaign. So Donald Trump was a logical choice. They knew he was a patriotic American. They had been watching him. They knew that he was very good friends with John F. Kennedy Jr. And speaking of that, there's been some talk on social media sites that people are starting to wonder, is he really alive? So I guess we'll have to wait for the news on that. It would be wonderful if he came back somehow miraculously, right? But anyhow, because, you know, he passed in 1999 with the plane crash, supposed plane crash that killed his wife and his sister-in-law. So hopefully those folks are still living, and maybe they'll come along. But, and again, maybe that's part of the conspiracy theory, okay? Which is another buzzword for deep state, right? Conspiracy theory. Because for some reason, whenever we say, oh, that's conspiracy theory, that means it's just hogwash. Well, of course, the deep state, that's like the ETs. I mean, does anybody not think that there's not extraterrestrials around? I mean, we're galactic citizens. I mean, my goodness. Where do we think we're getting all this input? I mean, it's not only from angels, but extraterrestrials. But so we know they're real. You know, people always ask about proof. Well, you know, I always try to tell them, well, tell me, or prove God exists. You can't prove that. I can prove God exists because I feel the God is right in my heart. I know God exists. So people always want proof, this so-called proof or conspiracies. So just because it's conspiracy doesn't mean it's not true. Okay? Yeah, so just pay attention to that. Remember, actually, if I hear something, if I hear somebody report that it's conspiracy, that's my clue to jump in. Because now I want to find out, okay, what's the backstory on all that. Okay, good. And now Q started around October of 2017. So that's when it actually came back online. So that's wonderful. Came online after President Trump was already in office. Yeah. And so it's been here ever since. So take a look at that. Look at all the information that's on there. Q is very uplifting, very optimistic. Never promotes violence in any way. Yeah. So that's one good thing about that. So because remember, this can be peaceful, and we'll be peaceful as much as we can. Yeah, but that's what Q is all about. So Q is on our side, on the white hat side, on the freedom of America side. Yeah.
And just because Q started with a noble intent, you know, as people bandwagon on, my feeling and my knowing is not everybody that jumps on a Q bandwagon or anything else for that matter may have the same motive or integrity, you know. And so that now I see more and more and more stuff under that umbrella, and some of it's like, you know, and that's where, you know, I really want to invite people back to their knowing and their feeling sense, because who knows at this point. I mean, like I told you about growing up Jehovah's Witness, and so many things that didn't add up now are like, whoa, about blood and being very, very careful about blood, and about Catholicism and some corruption in Catholicism, and the beginnings of why those people were going door to door and being like, hey, you've been played. Let me show you something in the Bible. I think that's what appealed to my feisty Scottish American, you know, family, was like, yeah, let's think outside the box. Let's be different. However, what ended up transpiring from there, years and years and years down, you got to have that discernment, like you talk about the heart, not just like, oh, just because it's Q, then it's the good side. You know, who knows? Not necessarily.
Yes, exactly. Use your own heart for the discernment, because, you know, trust your heart. Remember, we have to get out of the brain and be in the heart. And then once you're in the heart, we want to bring the brain along. Remember, we don't want to keep that separate. We eventually want those two to be on the same page. Because right now, remember, the brain has separation and division. That's the way the ego works. The heart is all inclusive. So we want to find a way to bring the brain in with the heart and have the heart with the brain. That would be the optimum choice if we could. Okay? So use your discernment and find a way, let it know how it feels in your heart. Now, a good way to do that for me, the way I do it is I like to use calm. So when I hear something, feel something, watch a report, a video, read a book, see a movie, meet a person, hear a speech, I always feel that in my heart, but also feel the calm. If I don't have any calm, then I begin to start looking around. Then I put on the detective hat and start to investigate it and try to find out, why do I not feel calm? And the way we can do that is, you know, your own discernment, your own heart, whatever metric you use. I use calm. Some people may want to use joy or peace, however you define that. So I would follow that particular topic around and start questioning the little individual things. And notice if I feel calm during each one of those little things. And if there's a place where I don't, I go, okay, this is a place where I want to investigate a little more. Why do I not feel calm? And then I'll get on social media, talk to people, find some different viewpoints on it, and then try to come to a decent conclusion for me. So find out, I know we say a lot, yeah, be in the heart. And I know some folks are going, yeah, but what's that really mean? I mean, some of us would think, well, that's so simple, but for some people, if you're not used to being in the heart, if you're not used to feeling calm, peace, joy, happiness, a release, if you're not used to that, you may not understand that. So trust your body, our human body, because remember, we're spiritual beings just in a human body at this time. We're going to change clothing next time. Next time I'll come back as Evangeline, hopefully, and be the pretty podcaster and able to spread out all this wonderful Piscean energy everywhere. So trust yourself, but find out what it is you want to use as your metric. What is your standard? Again, mine's calm. What would be yours, sweetheart? Beauty. Yeah, Jeannie said beauty. Yeah, so Jeannie's metric is beauty. So whenever she sees something, just like I mentioned, she's going to notice, okay, how does beauty fit in with that? So that's what she uses. Yeah. So find out what's that one word or what that one feeling that works for you. And then let that be your discernment. Okay. And again, remember, we're multidimensional people. So, that could change. For me, it hasn't changed. I mean, calm has pretty much been my lifetime essence for me. So that, don't be afraid of the change. If you go, no, I think I want to do joy now. Okay? But be in the heart, but find out what that one word, that one feeling, that one essence is.
I like that because that gives somebody something to do. Yes. Jeannie?
Yeah, Jeannie's popping in.
Yeah, I just want to interject one thing.
Let me get out of the way.
That this time is the Great Awakening. And this is our time. And it's the time that we came back for. So, and that's not to say that people aren't struggling, that people, because a good friend of ours has been posting on Facebook, and I've seen her write that, she's been depressed, she has 2 girls and all of this, and I understand that. But then she moves beyond that, and it's beautiful when I can see her moving and becoming something else. I mean, looking at this stuff that's going on here, and she's looking beyond it. So this is the Great Awakening. And it's our time to shine. I mean, that is why we're here. So even as bad as it seems, there is a goal. And as Dale said, we are going to be okay at the end of it. And I think we're all going to be kind of surprised at how we come out on the other side. So the Great Awakening, just remember that term, I think.
Thank you, love.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's an actionable, like, you guys have given people something to do. And I think that's important, not to just swirl around a lot of other people's information, but to generate within ourselves something positive. And you've given some ways to do that. And if people are intrigued by you guys, should they get the book? What is the new book all about? Tell us about it.
Yes, thank you so much. I have one right here. Okay. So this is the book. So it's Aloha and Ideals of Ascension Shamanism. Yeah. So Aloha, of course, that means all-loving God. The L is for love. O is for oneness. H is about the heart. Okay. And then A is about as above, so below. And so using those 5 ideals with the ideal of ascension and the ideal of shamanism. So you can go to Amazon and order that. So it'll be fine. Thank you very much if you do that. And or we'll have some here at the house if you come by, and you can pick one up here. And it's just $10. So just a very cheap book. I didn't want to overprice it. I wanted to kind of gear it along being a class manual. But this particular book is more of a philosophical text. It's really for the shamans who have done their work in 3D. And you know that you're here, you know why you're here, and you want to carry it to the next step. So at the very end of the book, I have a series of questions to ask yourself to find out what your earth superpowers are. Yeah. And also to find out what your mission statement is, and what is your cosmic purpose, what is your earth purpose, and what is your personal purpose, right? For instance, with that, my mission statement for life is I am guiding by teaching, healing, and protecting. So that's what I do. I try to include 100% of my day making sure that I meet each one of those aspects of what I'm doing. And then what we can do is we can break down that. And for instance, you would have 3 things you would do underneath your superpowers. For instance, for teaching. So the 3 things I do under teaching is I'm facilitating, okay, I'm writing, and I'm life coaching. Okay? And then as far as healing, the 3 things I do under healing. I am directing energy, like when we do hands-on energy, projecting aloha, and then blessing, right? And that could be with prayers or any kind of chants or mantras, right? And then under protecting, that's my other earth superpowers. And with that, I'm being vigilant, I'm disclosing, which is what we're doing now, disclosing. And the third one is promoting mind, body, spirit awareness to realize we're not just a 1D entity, we're multidimensional entities. And to understand life from a mental aspect, a physical aspect, a spiritual aspect, and then interdimensional aspect. And so that's what this book about. It's more a philosophical thing. So I've worked on it since January 1st. That was my goal, to do 3 books this year. And hopefully I'll be on track, but had some life events happen. Dad's passing and all that kind of slows things down a bit, but that's all good for that. But it's out now on Amazon. So that's what that's about. Being a Shamans of Ascension. Yeah, and that's what we want to be. Shamans of Ascension and Aloha Consciousness. And also to mention your cosmic purpose, earth purpose, and personal purpose. So my cosmic purpose is I am wholeness, expressing love as a guide or by guiding, because that's my overall purpose. Right? And then my earth purpose is I am a shaman of ascension and aloha consciousness. And then my personal mission is my lower 3 earth superpowers of teaching, healing, protecting. So that's what the book is about, to help you to come to that, to help you to have something concrete that you can define about yourself, but it's all about you doing the work. You have to read the book, you have to do the exercises, and you have to find out who you truly are. But again, this is for folks who are along the advanced path of shamanism. So it's going to be much easier for you. This is not a beginner's book, I would say. I'll write that later on this year, beginning shaman book.
And what a perfect thing to be doing right now, finding out who we are individually, what we're doing here, because it makes everything easier when you know your role and what your soul came here to do. It makes all of this easier, and you help so much with that, and I thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And what about your, I know you're getting ready to do a shaman school or shaman class.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Class 7.
It's online. It's 7 weeks online of just what we're talking about, just what you guys have helped me do so well, is be able to look at things from all different perspectives, multidimensional, and to be able to not be reactive and choose the vibrational frequency that we want to be on and be empowered, responsible, and flexible. That's what your mystery schools were all about, which really helped me because I had studied a lot of indigenous culture healing ways, and there was still a lot of rules and exclusivity around a lot of medicine practices and healing. And I want what's effective. I want to make my life better, and I want to help other people make their life better, period. So I can't think of a better time for people to focus on what you teach, and what I bring to the table is empowerment, responsibility, not looking out around us and going, oh, that's bad and I'm scared and all that. Enough with that. We have tools, and you've been so gracious to share those tools with me. So I thank you, and I love you both so much.
Oh, we love you. Thank you so very much. Best of luck with that. That's going to be wonderful. This is the time of Aquarius, and airwaves and learning and teaching that way. So it's wonderful you're having that platform to be able to do that. So.
Yeah, and I want it to be a portal of a little sacred space that somebody can come to with me, but on their own time. Like when they can carve out the time to do it so that they can kind of like step into that other world and work on their own shamanism and empowerment. Because, hey, this is the time to be our own shamans. You guys have taught me that.
Yes, it is. And like you said, it all rests with us. The Hawaiians have a very beautiful word for responsibility called kuleana. So it's a very beautiful word. So we want to each have our own kuleana and be responsible. And like we've talked about, it's responding to your ability. That's what responsibility means. So respond to your ability. Of course, the first thing is you got to know what are your abilities. So why are you here on this earth plane? What are you here to do? You know, especially if you're a higher density individual, why did you decide to incarnate on earth at this time? What is it you're bringing to the table? And are you being effective and efficient in doing that? Because you came here to plug in. You did not come here to plug out, to just let things just happen and not be involved. Oh, I don't want to worry about that. That's too big. I'm going to stay above the fray. And that's okay to stay above the fray as long as you're consciously and you have focus that you're projecting this aloha or joy or peace or love or whatever you came here to do. You're projecting that on a conscious level every second of the day. And then you may be wondering, well, how can I do that every second of the day? Well, that's when you have to tune in to who you are and to know who you are. That to know that you can put your system on autopilot, right? When they're flying a big old plane across the ocean, I mean, the pilot's not sitting there and holding on to that wheel the whole time. He pushes the button, autopilot, and it goes. Right? So same thing for you. Program your energy field. Now, those that have a Merkaba, it's very easy because your Merkaba only exists because it's love. So that makes it very easy. But if you don't have a Merkaba, we'll put this Aloha bubble around you, or a love bubble, whatever you want to call it. Sparkles and rainbows, like a Skittles commercial. Put that around you and let that bubble, let that energy, that Merkaba, let your essence just vibrate, this resonance everywhere you go. And also, even if you're not there physically, that essence is still being vibrated over the entire planet. And then if you get really, really good at your job, you can start expanding that beyond the planet, do the solar system, do the galaxy. Because what do we do when we pray? We pray to God. Well, where is God? I mean, because a lot of people, we think God's somewhere else, right? That's what we've been taught. Of course, that's part of the book here, to know that God is within you, that we are God and God is us and we and all that good stuff. So, but we're taught to think that God's somewhere else. So if we're praying to God or speaking with God, well, that means we can do that with our energy field. Right? Just expand your energy field. And it's very simple to do that. Think about it. Imagine your energy field just expands like this bubble and just expands over the entire earth. Or start around your body, then do your house, your family, your cars, your computers, all your electronic stuff, around all your food, your friends, your business, your grocery store, around the state, around the country, around the world, around the solar system. Do that. Just tell it to expand out and just let it be on autopilot. And then that way you only have to check in a couple of times a day because you've already set out that intention. That's how powerful we are. Right? And your intention is that this bubble of light, this joy, peace, love, harmony, is going to be there. And anybody that wants to tap into it, they can. Right? That's what you're doing. So you're not forcing people to be joyful. You're not forcing people to be harmonious, because we can't do that. We're just presenting the energy. And if you want to partake, you partake as much as you like. It's almost like we're creating this village well. And people can bring any kind of container they want to gather up that wonderful spring water. Right? That's what we're doing. And they can come back as many times as they want, or they can just stand in the corner and just look at the well and complain about it and not do anything about it, or they can help people get more water. So that's what we're doing. We're creating this wonderful well, right? Because everything that's going on is very fluid, right? We're not standing still. Nothing stays still. Everything is moving. I mean, we know that. Just think you have these atoms going around every single cell we have. My God, moving 9/10 the speed of light. That's pretty fast. I mean, we're looking at what, 150,000 miles a second? Yeah, that's moving on. So everything is moving. So we're very fluid. So as a shaman, be very fluid. Okay? Even if you're a stubborn earth person, and bless you for being a stubborn earth person, because if you weren't here, this stuff wouldn't get planted in the earth, right? Because we need you here. We need all the astrology signs here, fire, earth, air, water. Right? But we definitely need the earth people here to plant these flags into the earth, all these things we believe, all these things we do. So we need that. Okay? So make sure we stay very fluid, okay? In what we're thinking and what we're doing. And remember, you are more powerful than you've been taught. So if you can plant this intention, this focus, this beautiful bubble of light around you, and that way we're adding to the wonderful, wonderful energy and the harmony that's all around us. And that's what we want to do. Because, you know, we can't sit around and go, okay, I'm going to spend 5 minutes sending energy to here, 5 minutes sending energy to there. We can't do that 24 hours a day because we have to have sleep. We have to eat. You know, we have to have coffee or tea or something. So make sure you program your energy field to do that.
And what I love about what you teach is, as you say, I came here to serve in this way, and these are my superpowers. You invite people into that and say, you can too. You have them too. And it's so inclusive. And I just want to thank you for that. And I hope people will go check out EarthStar Spiritual Center on Facebook. Is there anywhere else they should find you other than Facebook?
No, Facebook right now. We have, you know, and then we have, because, you know, I have our personal page, Dale and Jeanne Stacy, but that's where I put this, trying to teach about the big picture, what's going on. But on the EarthStar Spiritual Center page, that's a group, and we do all the nice fluffy stuff there. So all the A.L.O.H.A, you know, post all the nice little pictures and have little conversations there. So yeah, they can go there. That'll be fine.
Well, it's good. It's good for spiritual people to have the not warm and fuzzy conversations. I really appreciate that, because as someone who brings two very different perspectives, you're a healer and you're a retired policeman, and you bring a balance of masculine and feminine energy, and we need it all. To be complete, we have to be able to switch those out and use what we've got, the warrior and the healer, the nurturer and the protector. You know, you have both, and we all do. We all have those, and we can develop those sides. So I thank you for your wisdom. I thank you both for being with me again.
Oh, thank you so very much. And we love you.
Love you too. Till next time.
Until next time. Aloha.
Aloha.